Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Sanjay Kumar Chamoli from the Department of Physics and Astrophysics, University of Delhi. Today we are going to talk on module Radiation Detector Part 6 under the paper Nuclear and Particle Physics. After completing this module, the students will be able to learn number 1, understanding of basics of gas detectors, number 2, knowledge of types of gas detectors and their properties, and number 3, knowledge of various properties of gas detectors. Radiation detectors, gas detectors. In this slide, basically we are going to discuss the radiation detectors in which gas is used as a medium to detect them. The radiation enters in the gas detectors and ionizes. Ionizes means it produces electron ion pairs within the gas. Free electrons and ions produced are swept to their respective electrodes by the applied external electric field where they deposit their charge. So what happens is the gas is filled in some chamber, which is we are calling as a detector, and then in the detector there are two electrodes. One is anode, another is cathode. Anode is connected to the positive terminal of the biasing supply voltage and cathode is connected to the negative of the biasing supplied voltage. Then when the radiation enters, then radiation while interacting with the gaseous medium, that is with the gas, it basically ionizes the gas and creates free electrons and ion pairs. Now free electrons and ion pairs, free electron has negative charge and ions have positive charge. So under the influence of the electric field between the cathode and the anode, the electrons and the ions start moving towards their opposite polarity electrodes. For example, electrons move towards anode and the ions move towards cathode. In most of the gas detectors, cathode is the wall of the gas container and anode is a wire inside the container. So it means the gas anode is basically the positive voltage is applied to a thin wire which is passing through the center of the gas detector, and the whole surface is usually put at the negative terminal or is grounded. So in that way basically the radiation detector works for detecting the radiation. Now in general we have three main kind of gas detectors. What are those detectors? Ionization chamber, gaseous counters which are also Geiger counters which are famously known as GM counters, and proportional or avalanche counters. Gas detectors, principle of working. Basically an overview of gas detectors is given. On the left hand side a picture is given in which the number of pulses connected, number of ion pair connected is given as a function of applied voltage for a gas detector, and here the entire region of gas detector working can be divided into various subregions like region 1, region 2, region 3, region 4. Here various terms have been indicated in the picture like recombination, ionizing chamber region, proportionate region, limited proportionality, Geiger-Müller region, continuous discharge, etc. What these subregions mean and what are their properties, that we can discuss in this slide. Now region 1 is the low voltage region, that is when the applied bias voltage to a gas detector is low. In this region, due to the low applied voltage, the recombination rate is high, that is the charge radiation comes in, it creates electron ion pairs, and since the voltage is not sufficient to guide these electrons and ion pairs to their respective electrodes, their recombination takes place. For these detectors we have high recombination rates. Voltage increase 0 recombination I is equal to constant. So in order to reduce the recombination, we need to increase the voltage. So nature of the curve, you can see that in the nature of curve, it's almost flat as a function of applied voltage. The first region is called the ionization chamber region. The second region is called the proportionate region. In this region, the gas detectors are operated at a voltage higher than the range for ionization chamber region. And what are our observations? In this region, the recombination rate is 0. That is, the voltage is sufficient enough, the biasing voltage is sufficient enough to collect all the electron ion pairs generated in the detector. In this case, as a function of voltage, applied voltage, we can say that the number of charge pairs or the number of ion pairs collected increase as a function of voltage. The curve is shown for 1 MeV beta particle. Then we come to the region 3, which is called the limited proportionality region. In this region, the voltage is much higher compared to the proportional region. So since high electric field exists between the electrodes in the detector, so secondary electrons are produced. It means the primary electron ion pairs are created by the radiation. These primary electrons, when moving towards the positive charge anode in the detector, they gain sufficient energy to create further ionization. So the secondary electrons are produced. These secondary electrons are basically correspond to the gas multiplication factor, that is number of secondary ions per primary ion. Number of ion pairs multiplication is observed. Number of secondary ion pairs are independent of primary ionization. So the output voltage is proportional to the primary ionization. Particle and energy identification is possible in this region because depending upon the energy of the incoming radiation, number of primary electrons are produced, and corresponding to one primary electron, there are fixed number of secondary ions. So we can correlate the total number of secondary ions collected can be correlated with the energy of the incoming radiation. So in this case, particle and the energy identification is possible. Next we have the region 4. It is the region of highest biasing voltage for the detectors. This is called GM region, that is Geiger-Müller region. In this region, what are the observations of the detector? In this case, the single electron ion pair generate avalanche. Means the radiation comes, interact with the detector, voltage is very high, corresponding to each primary electron, the avalanche is generated. Number of secondary ions are generated. Avalanche produce strong signal with shape and height independent of primary ionization and type of particles. So conclusively we can say that a gas detector can be operated with different biases, and corresponding to each biasing voltage range, the detector properties are different. Gas detector, ionization chamber. We will look into the ionization chamber or ionization kind of detectors. They are the simplest kind of gas detectors operated at low voltage. The ionization of gas, in this case, when the biasing voltage is applied, then ionization of gas takes place due to the interaction of radiation. What are the observations? Since applied biasing voltage is low, so no charge multiplication takes place. Primary electrons generated by the incoming radiation get collected on the anode. So output voltage is usually low. Basically, the pictures of a commercial ionization chamber is given. On the left hand side, the process is explained in the middle picture, and the behavior of applied voltage is shown on the performance of the detector in the rightmost slide. Since a small signal is generated, so only alpha, proton, fission fragments, etc. are detected with the help of ionization chamber. Gas detectors, ionization chamber. Now we have, up to the previous slide, we have learned what are the properties of ionization chambers and how do they work. Now in this slide, we are going to focus on the limitations of ionization chamber. Limitation means what are the shortcomings of these kind of detectors. The first important limitation is that low intrinsic efficiency due to low density and low Z of gases. So that we have seen that since gases are used as a medium, gases densities are very low. So because of that, the interaction rate is very less. Interaction rate of the incoming radiation is less. So it means these detectors, these ionization chambers are basically low efficiency, low intrinsic efficiency detectors. Also, since the gas, usually the gases like argon is filled, so argon or other low Z gases are filled. So we can say that the radiation interaction with the gaseous material is low. So this is one of the important limitation of ionization chambers, that their efficiency is quite low. Second important limitation is generally a small output pulse, so require an external amplifier. So since number of interactions are less, so height of the pulse is very small. Height of the total pulse is very small. So we need to amplify the signal, and for that purpose we need to provide an extra electrical contact electronic component, which is called amplifier. Third important limitation is slow drift velocities. So drift velocities means when the electrons and ions move towards opposite polarity electrodes. For example, the electrons move towards anode and ions move towards cathode. Their velocities are very less. Why their velocities are less? Because the low electric field exists between the cathode and the anode. Why low electric field? Because biasing voltages are low. So slow drift velocities, electron velocity, free electron velocity, drift velocity is around 10 to the power 3 meter per second, and ion velocity is around 1 meter per second. So slow in response. So electrons, free electron take a longer time to reach to the anode and generate a pulse. So that we can say that these detectors are slow in response. Next important limitation is due to low rate of charge collection, they have poor timing properties. So since the charge collection rate is low, so their timing properties are also poor. And another important limitation is not possible to increase voltage indefinitely to eliminate recombination. What does this mean? Since we know that these ionization chambers basically work in the lowest voltage range, so their voltage is not very high. So recombination rate means when the radiation enters, it creates electron ion pair, but due to the absence of sufficient electric field between the cathode and the anode, many times it happens that the ions and the free electron get recombined. So this recombination rate is very high in ionization chamber, so it cannot be reduced by increasing the voltage. Applications normally used as dose calibrator and in portable survey meter. So these are the common uses in which we can use these ionization chambers. The average radiation intensity is measured as current I is equal to Q upon time. Gas detectors, proportionate counters. We continue our discussion about the proportionate counter. So in the proportional region, biasing voltage is high, so secondary electrons are produced. So as we have seen that due to the high voltage, high electric field exists between anode and cathode within the detector. So primary electrons generated by the incoming radiation, they get sufficient energy while moving towards the anode for the collection, and in that process they collide with the neutral gas molecules and produce secondary electrons. So in this case, since voltage is high, so secondary electrons are produced. The number of secondary electrons proportional to the number of primary electrons in the gas, that is each electron in this produce some fixed number of secondary electrons. So in this case, counting the secondary number of electrons can give an indication about how many primary electrons were there, which correspond to what was the energy of the incoming radiation. Incoming radiation produce electron ion pair. Electron move towards anode, create secondary charge particles, and ions move towards cathode. Electric field which exists between anode and cathode within the detector is given by ER is equal to V upon R log B by A, where A is the radius of the anode wire, B inner radius of the cathode, R distance from the anode. Gas detectors proportionate counter. So in this case, in this slide, basically we are going to study the properties of another kind of gas detectors which is called proportionate counter. Now proportionate counter, as we know that proportionate counter work at a higher voltage range as compared to the ionization chamber. So the higher voltage basically adds up in its working up to some extent, and that is reflected in its properties. Due to the higher voltage, we have seen that in these voltages the avalanche take place. So what are the important properties of these proportionate counters? Properties are avalanche occurs close to the anode as electric field is highest. Since the voltage is high between the anode and the cathode, so electric field is basically good in between the anode and the cathode. So due to high electric field, avalanche usually due to the high electric field, the free electrons which are produced in the detector, they move with higher speed towards the anode, and in that process or in that journey they create avalanche, and the avalanche is created basically mostly towards the anode, close to the anode, as the electric field is highest at there. Second important property is, since timing of output pulse is governed by avalanche, drift time of avalanche electrons is very fast. Due to this, counter runs at a higher rate than simple ionization chamber. So this, because of the avalanche, number of charge carriers are basically very high, and they move basically towards higher speed towards anode. So in that case, we can say that these counters run at higher rates than simple ionization chamber. Next important property is, avalanche produced around 10 to the power 3 to 10 to the power 5 electrons per primary electron. So count rate is around 10 to the power 6 event per second. So this is very important. So when the free electron try to create avalanche close to the anode, it generates 10 to the power 3 to 10 to the power 5 secondary electrons, and therefore the count rate is around 10 to the power 6 events per second. Another important property is, the number of pairs produced is proportional to the particle energy. Typical count rate for a proportionate counter is around 10 to the power 6 event per second. Next important property is, detection of low energy particles is possible due to large amplification factors. Why? Because we have seen that these detectors or these counters work in the avalanche region, means they create avalanche, they create secondary electrons. So even if the number of primary electrons are less, which is usually the case with low energy radiation interacting with the gas. So when the low energy radiation interact with the gas, it generates less number of free electrons. But each free electron is again producing the secondary electrons and creating avalanche. So in this case, even the number of primary electrons are less, but due to the avalanche, we get the sufficient pulse height in this case, and so they will also be counted. So detection of low energy particles is possible due to large amplification factor. Another important property is, needs special care to ensure proportionality. That is, quenching gas is usually the methane. What does this mean? In this case, we have to be very, very careful about the fact that the number of secondary electrons created should be proportional to the first one. That is, in that case, the proportionality region should be intact. And for that, the best gas that we can use or the best quenching gas that we can use in such detectors is the methane gas. Gas detectors, Geiger-Müller counter. We will look into the various concepts about the Geiger-Müller counter. A gas detector operated at voltages higher than proportionate counters are called Geiger-Müller counter. So it means we can say that out of all the detectors, all the gas detectors we have studied, Geiger-Müller counter are operated at highest voltage. So what is the outcome of these detectors? In this case, secondary avalanches, that is Geiger discharge, due to photons emitted by ions excited in initial interaction with radiation are emitted. What happens is, when the primary radiation comes, it produces the electron ion pair. Ions basically move towards the cathode, then they basically absorb the electron from the cathode, get excited, and due to the de-excitation they release photons. These photons basically are captured by the molecules of the gas and electrons are emitted. So in this case, the secondary avalanches due to photons emitted by ions excited in initial interaction with radiation are emitted. As photons range is large, so charge amplification takes place in the entire gas. So here on the right hand side, the picture of a GM tube is given, that how the GM tube works, and in the bottom the production of avalanche is basically shown. The avalanche which is created in the entire tube, they are created close to the anode wire where the electric field is highest. We intend to look deeper into the working of Geiger-Müller counter. So photons preferentially create free electrons close to the original avalanche, so the Geiger discharge grows in both directions along the wire. Normally, charge is generated within few microseconds and result in a pulse. In tube, avalanche is quenched by the space charge problem. Now, it is very important that when avalanche is created, avalanche means there are primary electrons which are creating the secondary electrons, and then in addition the excited ions basically de-excite by emitting photons. These photons again interact with the neutral gas molecules and create electrons. So we basically can see that avalanche is created by the multiple sources of electrons, but when the avalanche starts happening throughout the volume of the gas, they are quenched by the space charge problem, because with the creation of each electron, free electron in the gas, a free ion is created. So when the avalanche happens in the entire tube, in the entire GM tube, the number of ion pairs created are very large, which basically tries to reduce the effective field between anode and cathode within the tube. So avalanche is quenched, and this quenching is because of the space charge problem. To stop positive ions from starting multiple pulsing, quenching is used. So as we have seen that the space charge problem is there, number of ions created are very large. So to avoid these large number of charged ions, to create further avalanche, quenching process has to be applied. That is, they need to be neutralized. Otherwise, multiple pulsing problem will be there. And the process of multiple pulsing is basically shown in the picture on the right hand side, where the first pulse is basically, you can see that it's a full energy pulse. After that, There can be multiple pulsing also, which is not good, because after this full energy peak, one event is recorded. Now, as we have understood in the discussion of previous slide, that quenching need to be applied to the GM tubes to overcome the problem of multiple pulsing. So basically, two quenching methods are applied: external quenching and internal quenching. External quenching means we apply an external reverse voltage to the GM tube, so that when the primary pulse basically is generated, after that the external reverse voltage tries to bring down the internal voltage between anode and cathode within the detector to such a low value, so that multiple pulsing does not happen. In the external quenching, reducing high voltage is applied to tube for a fixed time after each pulse to a value too low to support further multiplication, and the duration for which this reverse voltage is applied is around millisecond. It implies that the value of the load resistance, external load resistance applied should be very high, that is of the order of 10 to the power 8 ohms or so. Now, what is the flaw? This provides an excellent way of quenching multiple pulsing in the tube, but suffers from some disadvantage. What is the disadvantage? The GM tube requires several milliseconds to return to near its normal voltage, and therefore very low counting rates. So this is the disadvantage with external quenching method, that it effectively increases the dead time, because the applied voltage, once it is quenched by the external reverse applied voltage, takes longer time to come back to its initial value, so that another pulse can be generated. So it puts long detector dead time to the GM tube, and therefore counting rates become low. Gas detectors Geiger-Müller counter, which is whose abbreviated form is GM counters. Internal quenching, we have seen up to the previous slide that in the GM counters we need to do some quenching method to suppress the spurious pulses or the multiple pulsing. So for that reason, we sometimes use the internal quenching method and sometimes the external quenching method. In this slide, we are going to study the way we do the internal quenching in GM counters. So for internal quenching, we add a gas with special properties. So it means the gas is there, the main gas is there, but for the internal quenching process, we need to mix some other gas in very small amount. Quenching gas mixed in the concentration of around 5 to 10% should have lower ionization potential and more complex molecular structure than primary gas. So these are some of the properties which the quenching gas must qualify to become, or to make it possible to add it in the GM counters. What are the properties that should be there in the quenching gas? First of all, it is mixed. The quenching gas is always mixed in the ratio of, in the concentration of 5 to 10%. Second thing, it should have lower ionization potential. Why lower ionization potential? So that it absorbs the photons, the emitted photons, and then photons, basically photon energy is used in ionizing this gas rather than the primary gas. And more complex molecular structure than primary gas. More complex, why? Because in that case, the incoming photons uh, interaction with the with the quenching gas molecules will be enough to consume all the energy, and we can say that the photons will not produce the secondary electrons, spurious secondary electrons, and create avalanche. Rather than their energy is used in breaking the quenching gas. Quenching gas has high probability of giving electrons to ionized filled gas. So quenching gas has high probability of giving electrons to ionized filled gas. Next is gas example ethanol has high photon absorption cross section than filled gas. So it means it says that if ethanol in 5 to 10% concentration is mixed with normal air, normal gas, which is air in the GM tube, so in that case we can say that it the ethanol has high photon absorption cross section. So high photon absorption cross section means maximum number of photons will be absorbed by the quenching gas, that is ethanol, and there will be very few photons left to produce the spurious avalanche. The quenched gas neutralizes the filled gas, and the quenched gas molecules break up on contact with the cathode instead of liberating electrons. Ideal quench gas has more probability for dissociation than electron emission. This is very important. So an ideal quenching gas should have more probability for dissociation, means their internal breakdown, their structure breakdown, than emitting the electron. We are going to study limitations of gas detector counters, especially the Geiger-Müller tubes. So what are the limitations? As the entire tube participates in every event, so signal is independent of energy deposited in the detector, and therefore no energy or type information of radiation can be obtained. That is, only counting of radiation can be done with the help of GM tube. Why it is so? Because in the avalanche the number of charge carriers created is fixed. Say for example, in every avalanche 10 to the power 10 electrons are produced. In that case, we can say that whatever is the energy of the incoming radiation, there will be primary radiation produced, and then due to the secondary radiations, avalanche will be produced. And in avalanche, every time 10 to the power 10 number of electrons are produced, after that the pulse is, we can say that detector stops working. So corresponding to every energy radiation or every type of radiation, 10 to the power 10 number of electrons are getting collected on the anode. So number is fixed. So in this case, in the GM tube, the output voltage is of fixed height, that is fixed amplitude. So no energy information can be obtained for the incoming radiation using these tubes. So we can only count that how many interactions are happening. Second limitation is, since inefficient detectors of X-ray and gamma rays, so mainly used for beta detection. Now in this case, in the GM tube, we have a gas. The gases are usually inefficient in interacting with the X-rays or gamma rays. So we can say that these GM tubes can mainly be used for detection of charged particles like beta. Third limitation is the GM tubes have large dead time of the order of several microseconds, so low counting rates. Next limitation is, in GM counters, the quenching gas quality deteriorates with time due to continuous dissociation, so have limited life. So it means in the GM tube, whatever gas we apply, we need to put small amount of quenching gas in the internal quenching method. This internal quenching gas basically deteriorates, the quality of this internal quenching gas deteriorate with time, so we need to replace the gas after fixed time. So we can say that the GM tubes have limited life. Halogen gases like chlorine, bromine can undergo spontaneous recombination, so better choice is quenching gas. GM counters, counting efficiencies. So now in this slide we are going to study that how efficient the GM tubes are when different radiations enter in them. The first one is charged particles. How efficiently the charged particles are getting detected and counted. For charged particle, efficiency depends on material and thickness of entry window. So efficiency for charged particles that enter active volume of the tube is 100%. It means when the charged particle enter in the tube, at the entrance of the tube we have the thin window. So first condition is that charge particle has to pass through that window, means it should have sufficient energy and should lose little bit of energy in passing through the window and enter in the detector. So first condition is that charge particle can be detected and counted using GM tube only when they are having sufficient energy to enter in the window. This ability of the charge particle depends upon the material and thickness of entry window. For example, we know that the alpha particles are heavy charge particles. They lose their energy very fast. So if the intention is to detect and count the alpha particles using GM tubes, there has to be minimum very small thickness and minimum thickness window should be there in the GM tube. Only then alpha particle will pass that window and enter in the detector to create their impression. But once the charge particles enter in the gas after crossing the window, their detection efficiency is 100%. Why? Because they lose energy in the gas very fast, and for every charge particle the loss of energy can reach up to 100%. So once the charge particle enter in the GM tube, the efficiency of charge particles in the active volume is 100%. For alphas and heavy ions, etc., the thickness of window is small, that is 1.5 to 3 milligram per centimeter cube. Now the second kind of radiations are neutrons. So we want to see that how the GM tubes respond to neutrons. Now the GM tubes are not usually used to detect neutrons. So GM tubes are not basically used to detect neutrons. For thermal neutrons, the capture cross section are too small to be useful. If we have a low energy neutrons, then these neutrons will enter in the GM tube and get captured through various process. So capture cross sections for thermal neutrons are very low. For fast neutrons, proportional region is better than GM region, as amplitude of neutron event is larger than due to gamma background. So separation is possible.
Right.
Gamma rays. So now we want to check how the GM counters behave to the gamma rays. Gamma rays in the GM tubes are detected via secondary electrons produced on interaction with the wall or window of the GM tubes. For gamma ray detection, bismuth window is preferred, as bismuth has high Z, so more probability of interaction, and efficiency is around 2%. So students, let us now summarize what we have learned in this module. As we have seen that we have discussed very many concepts in this module, so now it is time for us to recap what we have learned out of all that discussion. The first thing that we have learned is the gases can be used to detect ionizing radiation. Second thing we learned is that ionization chamber is the simplest gas detectors used to detect radiation. Another important thing that we learned is depending upon voltage applied, gas detectors are of various types. Another important thing is gas detector working in proportionate region produce avalanche. Also, what we have learned is that in Geiger-Müller counters, to stop multiple pulsing, internal or external quenching methods are applied. And there is one more thing which we have learned. The GM counters are more suited for the detection of charged particles than neutrons and gamma rays. Thank you.